How's it going, everybody? I am back from vacation. The A's are streaking. They've got a 5-game win streak. We're going to talk about it and go over everybody's schedules the last 2 weeks because it is go time. So let's go.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How's it going, A's fans? And welcome to episode 351 of the Locked On A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, noted baseball fan Jason Burke, and on today's episode, the A's are riding high. They are riding that wave. They've won 5 games in a row. Sure, 3 of them came against the Angels and 2 of them came against the Royals, but 5 games is 5 games at this time of year, so it does not matter who the wins come against. They are winning games, and that's kind of what matters. So I'm going over a little bit of what happened over the weekend against the Angels, an update on Chris Bassitt, and then I'm going over the schedules for the A's main competition the rest of the way. We got 2 weeks left. How have teams been doing against the teams that they're going to be facing the rest of the way? Do the A's have a chance? That's today's episode. So let's not go too deep let's not stray too far away because it's going to be a big episode. But before I get into anything, you guys can also join Walking Baseball Encyclopedia Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, every day on the Locked On MLB podcast for a unique look at the majors, both present and past, featuring exciting guest interviews and routine check-ins from Locked On MLB's network team of local experts like myself. Subscribe to the Locked On MLB podcast today on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. You guys can also subscribe to this podcast wherever you like to hear podcasts. We have a YouTube channel, so check us out on YouTube. Some of you already are. 72 of you love seeing this face. And if you're not seeing this face, you see that I got this Jaguars hat on. Is it this way? Boom. It's a good looking hat. And also a Pittsburgh Pirates jersey, which is Starling Marte. It was like $8, and so I got it when the A's traded for Starling Marte. I was like, hey, I got some Starling Marte gear. This is fun. Also follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @ByJasonB on Twitter and in the Spotify Green Room app. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. But let's get into the main story here from the weekend, and that is the A's they're riding high. They've won 5 games in a row. Have they fixed the bullpen issues? No, not at all. The first game of the win streak, I was sitting in Disneyland waiting to go into the new Star Wars land. I've been there a couple of times, but, Black Spire Outpost. I was waiting to get in there for a nice little late night end cap and just go see some Star Wars things. And I was sitting on the bench outside of the bathroom waiting for this game to end because the A's bullpen almost blew that one. Then the 5th game of the 5-game win streak, Sergio Romo almost blew as well. Bob Melvin was quick to go to the bullpen once again this game. I'll get into that here in a second. And he went to Lou Trivino. Lou Trivino has been pitching a lot better. He got him out of the ninth, got him through the 10th, got the win, didn't allow any runs. Lou Trivino's been pitching a lot better of late. So is he better? Maybe. Everybody's fine until they're not. And that's baseball for you. But he's been pitching a lot better of late. So good job, Lou Trivino. It's just weird that they've won 5 games and yet they've fixed really none of their problems. They're just facing, the Royals and the Angels. So sure, am I feeling confident going into the Seattle series? Not necessarily, but because they haven't played them very well and Seattle is still hungry and they're still kind of fighting and they need to kind of win out to make an impact. So they're going to get Seattle's best shot. And can the A's handle Seattle's best shot? We're going to find out. And then they get to face the Astros too. And it could be a very long 2 weeks. It could be a very uplifting and let's see what happens in October 2 weeks. And I'm very excited to find out which side of the aisle the A's end up on because we're going to find out how good the A's are or how good their chances are for getting into the playoffs, into that 1-game wild card, maybe the division, but probably the 1-game wild card after this week coming up. So that's it's going to be a good test. And Frankie Montas pitched a heck of a game on Sunday against, the Angels, of course. But he went 7 innings, gave up 1 hit, 0 earned runs. He walked 4, struck out 7. He threw 87 pitches, and Bob Melvin yanked him. And that was a point of contention for many, many people on Twitter. They were like, hey, you know how the bullpen hasn't been good, Bob? Why are you doing that? And, fair question, honestly. Maybe they're trying to preserve Frankie Montas for the playoffs that they're not in yet. I'm not sure what the reasoning was. Maybe they didn't want him to face he'd been fine. I don't know what the reasoning was, honestly. That was a head scratcher, and especially with the way the 9th inning played out, real head scratcher right there. So not sure what was going on there, but I did find this one stat from Frankie Montas's line that I thought was fascinating, partially because I'm not sure if this is how baseball usually is played, but it seemed interesting to me, so I'm going to tell you what it is. He threw 87 pitches. 62 of those pitches were for strikes. That's fine. That's not the interesting part, but he had 4 walks, and to get a walk, you need 4 balls. So 16 balls were used in the walks, and he threw 9 other balls. So if you got a ball from Frankie Montas, odds were that you were going to be walked in that at bat, and that is fascinating to me. Is that something that always happens? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it's normal. So that's just a fascinating stat that I found. It's not like a stat that anybody keeps track of or anything, so I can't really look it up. But he threw 9 balls that were not in walks, in at bats that ended in walks, and that was very, very interesting to me. So that was my stat of the night from Frankie Montas, and also Bob Melvin's questionable bullpen usage, because don't use it. It's not fixed. Please stop going to it. And maybe they'll get some help from Chris Bassett coming up. We'll get into that here in a second. But this season, I just wanted to talk about Frankie Montas just a little bit more, because this season he's been fantastic. He's 12-9, and partially that's the bullpen. He could have gotten a win on Sunday. He could have been 13-9. He could have been doing a little bit better, but let's say he's 13-9. The record doesn't necessarily make the case, but 13-9 does sound a lot better than 12-9, just, at first glance. But he's got thrown 174 innings pitched, which is fantastic. He's never gone over 100 before, or I think he had 100 once. So he is just soaring by his previous high in innings pitched in a season, and he's still pitching really, really well. Granted, it's against the Angels. So 174 innings pitched, 192 strikeouts, which very nice K rate, I must say. Is it an elite K rate? No, but it's a very nice K rate. It's not Garrett Cole's K rate. It's not Robbie Ray's K rate, but it's good. It's more than 1 an inning. That's fine. It's like Lucas Giolito's K rate, and he's a perennial Cy Young contender. So yeah, it's a good K rate. And then he has a 3.57 ERA on the whole season. And as I mentioned, a couple of months ago when I was doing the podcast, it's basically a couple of blow-up starts. It's 3 blow-up starts, maybe 4. He may have added another one, but he's had a couple of blow-up starts that have made him look a lot worse. But overall, he's been basically a 2.5 ERA guy the entire season. In this second half, he has a 4-2 record, 74 innings pitched, 87 strikeouts, and a 2.43 ERA. He has been absolutely dominant in the second half. And the reason I bring up his second half numbers is because Robbie Ray, who is now the presumptive AL Cy Young favorite with 2 weeks to go after Garrett Cole just imploded, he is 5-1 with 76 2/3 innings pitched, so very, very close on the innings pitched. He has 103 strikeouts, so a few more strikeouts, 20 more strikeouts. It's a good strikeout rate. He's an elite strikeout guy. He's always been an elite strikeout guy. He just couldn't locate the ball before, and now he can, so good for him. And he has a 2 ERA. So it's been those 2 guys are the best 2 pitchers in the American League in the second half of this season. And I think the Frankie Montas should be getting some votes, probably top 5, maybe top 6 in the AL Cy Young voting. It's going to be Garrett Cole and Robbie Ray, probably Jose Barrios, because he's been pretty good. And then you can kind of go from there with take your pick. Who do you want from there? And Frankie Montas could be that 4th guy. Chris Bassett probably would have been if he hadn't been hit in the head. I'll update on that here in just one sec. But he has 150 innings pitched. Probably not going to get the votes because of the innings, but the production that he has provided has been Cy Young worthy. So The A's got three guys that are pretty good, three guys that might end up getting some Cy Young votes in their rotation, and that's impressive. But let's go to Chris Bassett, just because I like Chris Bassett. You like Chris Bassett. Let's see what's up with Chris Bassett. He is scheduled to throw a bullpen session on Monday. He's been throwing a couple over the past week. He's been feeling okay. He's been feeling good. They don't want to, prognosticate on what's going to happen just yet. But if everything goes well on Monday, which no guarantees, and he was sure to say that to reporters after the game, or, after his session, nothing's guaranteed. But if everything goes well on Monday, maybe we could see him pitch at the end of the Seattle series on Thursday. I don't know if that's going to be a starting role. Maybe have him go 3-4 innings. Maybe that's a relief role. Maybe you piggyback him with James Kaprielian, who pitched well in his homecoming to Anaheim, again, against the Angels, who have not been a great team. They had won 9, so I guess they're 11-1 in their last 12 now, I think, against the Angels, if I'm doing the stats correctly off the top of my head as I'm speaking. So yeah, it's not like the Angels have been a big threat to the A's of late. So is James Kaprielian fixed? I don't know. Do you want Chris Bassett there to maybe give you some length out of the bullpen? I mean, he'd be a nice length guy, but he's not going to fix the bullpen because he can't pitch every other day or maybe every third day for like an inning or something. But it'd be like a bullpen game or something like that for him. Could he be the spark that the A's need down the stretch? He could be. And I'm going to go over who they're playing down the stretch and why that could be important coming up. So stay locked in with Locked On A's, and I will be right back. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of that entertainment that you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Directv Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Directv Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Hey, A's fans, this is Jason Burke with an incredible app that everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code BASEBALL and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app and use the promo code BASEBALL to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 or $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash gets put back right into your account. You can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code BASEBALL to get 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's baseball for your code. Use the code BASEBALL. That's what I'm saying right there. All right. And for you two people, you know what time it is. It's time for me to take a sip of water. Good water. Also, old A's Cup. Good A's Cup. And this isn't going to make the actual podcast, but I got back from Disneyland, and Captain America made it back with me. I said that I was getting it for my my soon-to-come son, and I lied. It's on my shelf now. It's mine. We also got a Black Panther one for him, so he'll thoroughly enjoy that one. I got Cap, so I'm very, very excited about that. But anyways, welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I am at ByJasonB on Twitter and in the Spotify Green Room app. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. If you're listening to this on any podcast app, one, subscribe. That's important. And two, you can follow any of the links that I just told you about in our show notes. So just click on the details. It's all in there for you guys. It's all hyperlinked. I make it super easy for you guys. You're welcome. But let's get into some of the teams that the A's, well, let's get into the A's themselves first, and then I'll go over the Mariners and just the rest of the teams that the A's are chasing and what their schedules are like the rest of the way. So let's get into it. I'm already running very far behind, so let's get into it. The A's remaining schedule, you probably know this already, but they've got 4 games left against Seattle at home. The A's are returning home, facing Seattle for 4 games Monday through Thursday this week. It starts today. Go time is now. And then they get 3 against Houston. So that they have a full slate of games this weekend or this week. And it's against teams that they are either closely in contention with or lead the division and have kind of owned them the entire way. So yay! Should be a fun week for the Oakland Athletics and their fans. And then from then next week, you face the same 2 teams again. You got 3 at Seattle, and then you get an off day on Thursday, and then you get 3 at Houston. So that is the A's remaining schedule. We should find out this week if the A's will be competing in October based on how they do. You got to see them go at least 4-3, if not 5-2, because I mean, I know that you can shoot for the moon and you need to go 6-1 against these teams, but I mean, beat up on Seattle. Take 3 of 4 from Seattle. Take 2 of 3, I guess, from Houston, or 1 of 2. Do you want to win the division? Do you want to win the wild card? Because you only got to outplay the wild card people by 1 game. And the A's are 2 games back of Toronto, 3 games back of Boston. It's going to be hard to catch Boston at that point with so few games left, but still possible because Boston does love a good meltdown. They tried doing one earlier. It didn't quite take. So let's hope that they try again. The A's against the Mariners this season are 4-8. So that is not good. That's on average. They lose 2 out of 3 every series. That's not great. And against Houston, they're even worse. They're 4-9. So judging by how they've played these teams the entirety of the season, things don't look great. That is a .320 winning percentage. And with 13 games left, they'd be, with a .320 winning percentage, they'd be expected to win 4 games. They need to do that at least each week, at least 4 games each week to have a decent chance at making the playoffs. So they're going to have to play a little bit better. And one way to do that is to get into Seattle's, or not get into Seattle's bullpen, get to them early, I guess, but you got to touch up their starting pitching because you don't want to get into the Mariners bullpen has a .483 ERA this month. The bullpen has been really, really good for them and is the reason why with a huge negative run differential, they are still in contention this late is because they can win those one-run games. Their bullpen picks them up when they need them to. But if their starting rotation cannot keep them in games, if it's 6-1 early, they have the offense that can come back and, put up some big innings and stuff like that, but you don't want to rely on that too many times. The A's need to put up a bunch of runs against the starting rotation. Even if the bullpen hasn't been quite as good of late, they need to get runs on the board early. That's the way to beat the Seattle Mariners. Speaking of the Mariners, their remaining schedule, they got 4 at Oakland, then they go to the Angels, and they got 3 at Anaheim. Then they return home. They got 3 against Oakland, and then 3 against Anaheim, Los Angeles, whatever. They're 8-4 against the A's this season. They're 8-5 against the Angels this season. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So they're not playing their best baseball, but they're one of those kind of magical teams. And I think that the A's playing them at home could be good for them because if Seattle has last ups in a close game, that's not great. If the A's have last ups in a close game, that could be nice. That could be the thing that they need. So we'll see about that. Jared Kelenic, he's been struggling most of the season, but not the last 15 days. In that span, 15 days, he is batting .277 with a .358 on base and a .1039 OPS. He has turned things around. Small sample size, obviously, but this is the kind of guy that you've been scared about. This is the one that we've been reading about in all those prospect lists. You can't really, I mean, you can still pitch to him, but he's a lot harder to pitch to than the guy that was hitting 150 for most of the duration with his time with Seattle. So he's a little bit more scary right now. He's got 5 home runs in his last 15 days. Not great. The other guy that's been crushing the ball, Ty France. He's been up and down a little bit this season. He's gone through some pretty deep slumps, but right now in his last 15, that same span of Jared Kelenic, he's hitting 340 with a 446 on base and an 851 OPS. The OPS isn't there because the power's not there, but the on base is doing a lot of heavy lifting right there. 446. That's a really nice 2 weeks right there. As I said, the key to beating the Mariners is going to be putting up runs early, and we'll see if the A's can end up doing that. I'm going to be going over the rest of the A's opponents, but they're the guys that they're chasing coming up. So stay locked in with Locked On A's, and I will be right back. Today's episode is brought to you guys by Built Bar, and I have the ad read scrapping it right now because they sent me this one. It is a cookie dough chunk. I had a taste. It's amazing. I love this one. So it might be my new second favorite because nothing will ever come close to the coconut brownie chunk. That one was amazing, but cookie dough chunk is right up there. It is so tasty. And if you guys haven't had one of these bars before, you're totally missing out because they're jam-packed with protein. You're talking 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180. This one, I believe, 150. There's only 4 or 5 grams of sugar. There's only 4 or 5 grams of net carbs. They're all amazing flavors. They're all tasty. They're all healthy. And they're a nice pick-me-up. If you forget to eat breakfast, have a Built Bar. You forget to eat lunch, have a Built Bar. You have breakfast or lunch, have a Built Bar because they are great for any situation. They're absolutely fantastic. I love these bars, and you can love these bars too by going to built.com and using promo code LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off of your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you like hearing podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @JasonB on Twitter and the Spotify Green Room app. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. Also, subscribe to the YouTube page. This face is fantastic. The face is a little sleepy right now, but usually fantastic. Also coming up probably in the next couple of days, Ken Rosenthal had an article talking about how the Mets can just steal Billy Beane and Bob Melvin if they want them. And I'm going to do an entire episode just picking that article apart because it just felt like the Mets could just do whatever they wanted and the A's don't have a say. And the people involved, Bob Melvin and Billy Beane, don't have a say or like thoughts of their own. So that's a preview. I'm gonna rip that article apart. Ken Rosenthal, great reporter. Happy birthday, Ken, as I'm recording this. But at the same time, no, I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion that those two would just go to New York. So I've got some thoughts on that, and that'll be coming up for you guys a little bit later this week. So enjoy. But let's get into the schedules of the teams that the A's are chasing. First off, we've got the Yankees, who are a half a game up on the A's. They have 3 versus Texas coming up on Monday through Wednesday, I believe. Then they are off on Thursday. Then they got 3 at Boston, off day, 3 at Toronto, and then 3 versus the Tampa Bay Rays. They're 7-11 this month, so they're not playing their best baseball. They're 3-1 against Texas this season. They're 6-10 against Boston, 6-10 against Toronto, including Toronto sweeping them in 4 games just 2 weeks ago. So obviously not the best baseball that the Yankees have been playing. And then they're 7-9 against the Tampa Bay Rays. With the way that the Yankees have been playing, I don't feel like they're going to be a huge, they're not going to push back. I don't think they're going to push back very much. And they've got 3 really, really tough divisional opponents coming up. They may sweep Texas and make everybody believe again, but then they got 3 at Boston, and they are 6-10 against Boston. They got 3 at Toronto. They're 6-10 against Toronto. Then they're sub 500 against these teams. I don't know. I just said that the A's are 4-8 and 4-9 against the teams that they're going to be playing for the next 2 weeks, but they're divisional opponents, and usually those tend to even out a little bit. Not if you're the Angels and the A's this season, but generally they're a little bit closer. And the A's may have that extra gear that they haven't been playing with. They're going to be on an emotional high potentially with Chris Bassitt potentially returning to the rotation. When he's been around the club, they have won a bunch of games. And when he's not been around the club of late, they've lost a bunch of games. And you can see these peaks. I don't know all of the days that he's been in the clubhouse, but it seems like when he's around or he makes an appearance, the A's win that day. And then if he's not around the next day, they lose that day. He's going to be around, you guys. It doesn't matter if he's going to be pitching or not. He's going to be around, and that is an emotional boost that this team needs right now. And it could be that extra gear that they've been looking for playing Seattle and Houston throughout the rest of the season. And one small note, if the A's beat up on Seattle and then lose 2 out of 3 to the Houston Astros this weekend, then you're like, all right, I don't know what's going on. And if Houston ends up clinching fairly early next week, not this coming week, but the week after, maybe they're not going to be scared of the A's in the playoffs. So they're like, yeah, whatever. If we lose games to them and they sneak into the wild card game, whatever. It doesn't really matter to us. If we face them, we can beat them. It's no big deal, is I assume their mindset, because they're big macho men. And that could mean that the A's could sweep that last series and get 3 big wins against a team that you're not necessarily expecting to win 3 games against. And that could be what vaults them into the playoffs. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But moving on, we got the Blue Jays, who currently have the second wild card spot. They are 2 games up on the A's. They're 15-3 this month, including that sweep of the A's earlier in the month. That was not fun. Let's not talk about it. Anyways, they are 15-3 this month, and they have 3 at Tampa Bay. They won 2 of 3 against Tampa just last week, so they can hang with the Tampa Bay Rays, and that's scary. That's not what you want. Then you got 4 at Minnesota. Then they have an off day, 3 against New York, and then 3 against Baltimore. That schedule, if they can hang with Tampa, there's nobody on that schedule that necessarily scares you. Maybe Tampa wins 2 out of 3, and then they split with Minnesota. That's kind of the best that you're hoping for. And then the Yankees wake up for some reason, but the Baltimore series probably not going to go very well for A's fans. They are 7-9 against Tampa Bay this season. They're 1-1 against Minnesota. They're 10-6 against the Yankees and 11-5 against Baltimore. Yeah, maybe Baltimore wins 1 is kind of the hope right there. And in the second half preview that I did before, during the All-Star break, I had Nash Walker of Locked On Twins on, and we just talked about, what to expect in the second half, things that we were excited about. And I said the Toronto Blue Jays were going to be a very, very scary team because they were stacked. They hadn't played, their win total had not matched how they'd been playing. And it is now. They're playing just lights out right now. And they're a scary team. They've lost 3 games this month. And I don't know how the A's can vault over them. Maybe they've been playing over their head the other way now. And maybe they're due for some losses. Maybe they get some tough luck losses. There you go. And maybe that's what happens. But the Toronto Blue Jays are a scary team, and you don't necessarily want to face them in the wild card game. So let's hope for the best, I guess. So that's going to be a very, very tough hill for the A's to climb. So you're kind of hoping that the Red Sox fall off, but they're also 3 games up on the A's and currently hold the first wild card spot. They have an off day on Monday. Then they face the New York Mets for 2 games. Then they're off on Thursday. Then they play 3 at home against the Yankees, and they have played very well against the Yankees this season. Then they're off again. So many off days for the Yankees and Red Sox. Who makes the schedule? Somebody in New York? Maybe we should really decentralize that just slightly. That'd be nice. And then they get 3 against Baltimore and 3 against the Washington Nationals, who have detooled. And they have not faced the Nationals this season. So they are 0-0 against the Nationals. Maybe they get excited and Juan Soto gives a stirring speech and they play spoiler, and that's kind of the best thing that we can hope for right now. The Boston Red Sox are 11-6 this month, and they look. Okay, one thing that I noticed this month in looking over their schedule is that they will win they'll win like 3 games, and they'll lose like 2 or 3 games, and then they'll win a game, and then they'll lose a couple of games. They were basically playing 500 until this last weekend, and they're 11-6 right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak currently. Are they due for some losses? They might be. And they're going to be facing the Mets, who are also trying to just hold on to their playoff lives. So that's going to be fun. And then they get the Yankees. And I don't know who to root for when they face each other. I don't like either team. And the Yankees are ahead of the A's, but also not in control of an actual playoff berth. So I'm confused. I don't know. Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. They're 10-6 against the Yankees. They're 11-4 against Baltimore. They haven't played the Washington Nationals at all. They played the New York Mets in April and went 2-0 against them. But Boston was one of the better teams in baseball at that point, and the Mets are different now. I don't know if they're better, but they're different. There's no more Jacob deGrom, but they're different. So there's that. And then if you want to wish upon a star, the Houston Astros lead the AL West by 6 full games, which, funny enough, is the exact number of games that the A's have left against them. So can they do it? It's going to be one heck of a climb if they do, and one heck of a story. It would definitely rival 2012, except for all of the excitement leading up to that point, whereas it's been very demoralizing the last month and a half with the bullpen and all that stuff. And it could be so much closer if the A's had hung on to, I don't know, 3 of those 10 bullpen explosions. But oh well, we are where we are. We're 6 games back of the Houston Astros, and the Astros have 4 left against the Angels in Anaheim coming up to start this week, and then they travel up to Oakland for 3, and then they have an off day on Monday, and they get 3 against Tampa and 3 against the A's. Maybe the Angels do the A's a favor and they split with the Astros, and the A's win 3 out of 4. Maybe they're like 4 games back, and then the A's can do some stuff, and maybe that last series actually matters. And wouldn't that be something? I don't know if you can line up, Bassett, Manaea, and Montas or something like that, but you could try, and that would be fun and exciting. I don't know who would start the wild card game, but you could try. Maybe you start Bassett and then go to. We'll deal with that bridge if we get to it. So far this season, the Astros are 10-5 against the Angels. They won 2 of 3 at home against the Angels 2 weeks ago, so they played them well. And the Astros have that other gear, and that's the thing that I'm scared of when it comes to the Astros, is that other gear. It is now go time for them as well. Sure, they have a lead, but it's time for them to start playing like a postseason team and not a team that almost lost 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks this past weekend. So let's see if they've got that other gear, and let's hope that they don't. Can they still do it? They pulled out Sunday's win in dramatic fashion. They went back-to-back home runs, I believe. Chas McCormick won the game and all that stuff, but let's see. They're 9-4 against the A's this season, 2-1 against Tampa, and that Tampa series is going to mean something, I think, to the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to show up to play because Tampa Bay is now 3.5 games up on the Astros for home field throughout the AL portion of the playoffs. So through the ALCS, home field advantage is on the line right now. The Astros are 3.5 games back of them, so that series means something to both teams, and hopefully the Rays are better. And then we go from there. And if the Rays can sweep the Astros somehow, and then the A's can sweep the Mariners, all of a sudden, it's looking close. And it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. It might actually be easier for the A's to win the AL West, even though they're 6 games back as opposed to 2 in the wild card, because they get to face that team. And that team has a tough schedule and facing the Angels, I guess. So it's just going to be a matter of, can the A's finally figure out the Seattle Mariners? They're going to have to make the best of their opportunities. They're going to have to put runs on the board against the starting rotation. The rotation hasn't been pitching terribly well. They're not going to face Logan Gilbert, who was very, very good in Kansas City on Sunday, but he's the one guy that they're not facing. They're going to face Chris Flexen, Tyler Anderson, Yusei Kikuchi, and somebody else. And that'll be a lot of, Marco Gonzalez, that's the other one. And they've all been kind of okay in the last couple of weeks. And that's basically, 2 starts. So you can't really make a lot of that, but the A's are going to have to figure out a way to get to each of those guys and just make their bullpen just a non-factor in this series, because that's the way that the A's win the series and stay in playoff contention. So that's what it's going to come down to, I think, because I don't trust the A's bullpen going up in a bullpen versus bullpen battle right now with anybody. So those are the keys to victory. That's what's going on the next couple of weeks. So let's see what happens, I guess. But that is all that I got for you guys today. Later on this week, I'm going to be ripping apart Ken Rosenthal's article about the A's probably the most recognizable names in the A's franchise, aside from the Mets, maybe. Billy Beane and Bob Melvin just being ripped away by the Mets. I don't think it can happen, but I'm naive. Let's talk about it. I'm going to later this week. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at ByJasonB on Twitter and in the Spotify Green Room app. If you guys have any questions for us, please send those to lockedonathletics@gmail.com. And also subscribe to the YouTube page. We do fun things, and you can see my Captain America thing and whatever I'm wearing every day. I change my shirt every day for you. But that is all that I got for you guys today. So until next time, go out and celebrate good times, Oakland, and I will talk at you tomorrow.